Chris, and today I want to get a little bit deeper into the world of Ice and Fire and talk about the Starks just a little bit. So where did the Starks get their warging / skin changing ability? So I've been planning to do these types of videos where we can get in a little bit deeper to some of these questions we all have about how things work in the world of Ice and Fire, and mainly due to the fact that some of these big time characters have some of these skills.
You know, like nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills, computer hacking skills. Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills.
Will play a major role in the outcome of this story. This particular video or topic was inspired by some commenters on several videos, and I had replied that it's interesting that Ned never showed this ability, but yet all his children did after they received their direwolf pups. Now, I don't think that's an accident either, but that'll be another video. I mean, we see Arya start to develop this skill with Nymeria a little bit, and she accidentally wargs a cat, at least in the books, but she don't really know what's going on. We see Sansa start to develop some connection to Lady before she was killed. We don't see Robb display this ability, but George R. Martin himself has said that all Stark children have wolf dreams, which is warging. They just may not know it at the time. We see Jon also develop this with Ghost, although he seems to resist it. And most notably, we see Bran, who develops this when he gets pushed out of the window by Jaime, and he starts to have wolf dreams, and on top of that he has what's called green sight and starts having the dreams about the three-eyed crow. So how did the Starks get this ability? It couldn't have been just an inherent ability since the dawn of time, right? And for that matter, there are two major houses in our story that have seemingly magical abilities, and that is the Starks and the Targaryens. The Targaryens with their affinity for dragons, their resistance to heat, some can hatch dragons, some can ride dragons, and of course we have the Starks who have this ability to warg or skin change. And these abilities seem limited to people in this bloodline, whether they're Stark or Targaryen, or of course people who marry into the family and have offspring, but anybody who's interbred with these families has the potential to have these abilities. So that points to the fact that it is a genetic trait, that it is related to their DNA, to their bloodlines. Now obviously George R. Martin's not going to come out and tell us in a scientific manner how this actually works. He's not going to come out in a story necessarily and say on how having so-called magical DNA manifests itself physically to have the ability to put your consciousness into a wolf. So it's up to us Ice and Fire nerds to speculate about it, and that's what makes this shit fun in the first place. So let's take a brief look into the history of the Starks and their lineage, and try to find out where they got this magical DNA to start taking over critters and controlling them. So thousands of years ago, we know that the first men came to Westeros, and we know that the Starks are direct descendants of the first men. But there's no evidence that the first men initially, or even the first Starks, when House Stark was formed from the first men, had this kind of ability. So when did that change? And this started thousands of years ago, but it seems to be that some of the first men were starting to ally themselves with the children of the forest. Now we know from this story and how alliances work, they're typically done by marriage. So we can assume that this particular group of first men allied themselves with the children of the forest and probably did that through marriage, therefore interbreeding and having offspring. And we know that the children of the forest are the magical small people in the woods that have these magical abilities such as skin changing and green sight. Therefore, I believe this is the first time that humans started picking up this DNA to have this potential magical ability. There was a group of first men and their leader called the Warg King, and they controlled an area called Sea Dragon Point in the north. Now, basically nothing is known about this Warg King character, what his real given name is, what have you. His group of people, at least, were the first humans to have this ability of warging or skin changing that they seemingly got from the children of the forest from previous marriage, mating, offspring, etc. So how does that tie with the Starks? Well, it so happens that the Starks, then called the Old Kings of Winter, went to war with this Warg King, probably over land like most wars are fought over. So basically, eventually the Starks beat this Warg King, defeated him in battle, and when they won the war, they put him and all his sons to death. They put him to the sword, and they took his daughters as prizes. That probably involves rape, and possibly marriage too, or probably a mixture of both. And I believe this is where this particular magical DNA that started with the children of the forest intermingling with some of the first men that came down through this lineage into the Warg King and his family. And I believe this is where this magical DNA was introduced to the Stark bloodline. Now, this is not really a theory, so to speak, because a little bit of evidence is given to us in the book that I highly recommend, The World of Ice and Fire. So what little is known about this Warg King and this war was written in this book, and it states, "Chronicles found in the archives of the Night's Watch at the Night Fort before it was abandoned speak of the war for Dragonsea Point, wherein the Starks brought down the Warg King and his inhuman allies, the children of the forest. When the Warg King's last redoubt fell, his sons were put to his sword along with his beast and their green seers, whilst his daughters were taken as prizes by their conquerors. Basically, any new offspring from the Starks at this point forward, with their daughters being involved, whether that's marriage, rape, or a little bit of both over time, would potentially have this DNA, this trait from the Warg King's blood, which again contains blood from the children of the forest. So from this point forward, House Stark gained this ability. So that, my friends, is at least how I think that the Starks gained this ability. Now, not all Starks have it. It seems to be a recessive trait, but anybody who has it has Stark blood running through them. I mean, we see that all the Stark children in our story has this ability, but only Bran has this green sight as well, and that makes him very, very rare. It's something like 1 in 100,000 would have the green sight ability. Now, there is another character in our story very similar to Bran in these abilities, and that is Sir Brynden Rivers, aka Bloodraven. That's right, the man stuck in the damn tree. But he was a Targaryen bastard, right? So how did he get this ability if he wasn't related to the Starks? Well, that's actually a pretty simple explanation, and we'll get into that in another video if you guys want to see something like that. So thanks a lot, you guys. I appreciate all support. Let me know what you think. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. If you like these type of videos as far as, getting a little more in-depth into the magic and the abilities and bloodlines and things like that, let me know in the comments. Got more videos coming as well. So in the meantime, you guys can click here for the last video I did on the season premiere of The Walking Dead, Season 6, Episode 1 review. And you can also click here on the last video I did on Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and the potential plot leaks and how I think, based off those leaks, how basically the movie will go, but obviously that will contain spoilers. Again, thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate all support. Don't forget to subscribe to get everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.